everyone. We'll continue where we left off, where he was encountering my 17 strength Komainu and only had David and Deus Ex to defend against my House of Knives and Komainu combo. Ultimately, his decision was to prevent the flatline using Deus Ex's second ability, which prevents 1 net damage from any source. Or rather, any amount of net damage. However, you can only prevent 1 subroutine worth of net damage because that's how Komainu works. So I basically emptied his hand and he gets past Lotus Field with Armament 4. We play the Capri side game and the game goes on from here. So now he's in a very weakened state where he has only 7 credits left. He won the side game, unfortunately for me. But that's fine because now he's down to 6 credits. He has no cards in hand. I can score an agenda next turn and almost certainly guarantee that he won't contest it. Yep. Although I should still keep in mind that his Deus Ex is in his heap, so he has 2 clone chips available. For 3 credits, he can bring the Deus Ex out to prevent 1 more net damage, or to break any number of Komainu subroutines as long as it's below 10 strength. So I draw into a Future Perfect, I draw into another Future Perfect, not good. Yes, not good at all. Because I spent my first click drawing the Future Perfect, I believe. No, I didn't. Drawing the Future Perfect in the remote server is very, very risky because I know that he can bring back a Deus Ex anytime. So he can still safely run against my remote server and escape unscathed. And with his David, he's able to get past Lotus Field as well, should I bring it up with IT department. So I'm definitely not going to install Double Advance in the remote server until I have a Caprice ready to protect it. Otherwise, I would be in for a lot of trouble. If he did not win the Caprice side game last turn, I might have had a chance of scoring the Future Perfect. Not this time. Instead, I'll try to sneak in House of Knives. Hopefully, he will be distracted, or rather, he will find it inequitable to run my server because it will cost him a lot of money to bring out the Deus Ex, cost him recursion, etc. So hopefully, he won't run that server, and he finds my Future Perfect, one of my 2 Future Perfects. Thankfully, he does not steal it. The side game fails. Very close. I need to be very careful about this. Yes, HQ needs to be guarded better. So now that I've found my Himitsu Bako, I'm going to install it on HQ. There's no hurry to score the House of Knives in the remote just yet, seeing that he doesn't bother contesting it. He probably thinks it's not an agenda, so I'll leave it there until I have a good chance to score it. And that's another problem. I've been leaving this celebrity gift in my hand for too long because I never had the time to use it. Now I do need it because I'm down to 10 credits, but I cannot afford to show both Future Perfects to him. That will ruin my game. And to make things worse, I see where he spent some more of his influence on an imp. This is nasty, nasty news for me. Imp is horrible because he can trash the Future Perfect even after failing his side game, and all he has to do is run Archives every turn until he wins. So this is a very nasty card, and of course I return the nasty favor by raising the Himitsu Bako for him. So now he cannot get through my HQ unless he finds his Barrier Breaker. Now I finally use my Celebrity Gift, showing him my 1 Future Perfect, I believe. Yeah, I had to do that. And yes, the cash is still important at this point. So right now, I'm really relying on the Himitsu Bako to save my game, because once he can get past the Himitsu Bako, it's only a matter of time before he finally imps away my Future Perfect to victory. Here he makes a play that most sensible players won't make, parasiting down my Bako. I allowed him to take that back. There's an obvious reason why you never do this. It's a waste of recursion. You'll be much better off finding your Barrier Breaker. If his only Barrier Breakers in T, then sucks to be him. He's going to have to pay 3 credits every time he wants to run through it. So, yeah. No sensible player will use Parasite against Himitsu Bako. Alright, he passes the turn over to me and I find more of my Grail Eyes, which is good news. I don't need it now, so I'll just score my House of Knives. Now this is really threatening because now I can inflict 2 net damage on him during a run. This gives me a lot more fangs for my Komainu, because if he has, say, X cards in hand, I can potentially deal X plus 2 net damage to him, which is a guaranteed flatline even with Deus Ex. So yes, piling on the burn with multiple House of Knives, that's the way to go. And now he attempts to run my HQ with Cerberus Lady. So now he'll be able to get through, which is very, very awful news for me. I need to stop him. I'm going to do so by raising Himitsu Bako to 18 strength. Unfortunately, he has a David. He'll definitely get past it. And I'll do the same thing for the Lotus Field. And I'll zap him with the House of Knives because the end is near. I know he can access 2 cards from my hand. There's a very good chance he's going to... Oh, he jacks out. Interesting. Yeah, he chose to jack out at that point. Even though I believe he did have one more David too. I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever the case is, he didn't get through the server, thankfully for me, because if he accessed a future perfect, I pretty much have lost the game. But I do find a Jackson Howard, and that should relieve me from agenda flooding. So now he's looking pretty good, actually. All he needs to do is to refresh his David, and he's good to go. I know he runs Scavenge, so that shouldn't be too hard for him. Once he has a David, a Cerberus Lady, and an Armament 4, there's very little that can stop him. Low Strength Ice will get chewed up by the Armament and the Cerberus. High Strength Ice are taken care of by David, including any Grail Ice that I attempt to pump. So this definitely is not going well for me at all. Yep. And to make things worse, he shows me a Sharpshooter. That doesn't really affect my strategy yet because my Lancelots are either on my hand or discarded. I'm not relying on Lancelot for stopping him. So here I find my Caprice Nisei. It's definitely going my remote. I need a secure way to begin scoring those future perfects. I do not attempt to get rid of the future perfects through archives just yet. Because I know I'm running low on money, I need to be able to afford to res the R&D ice. Otherwise, I can might as well call GG. So here I make a huge mistake. I discard the Jackson Howard to score a future perfect in the remote server. What I should have done was to reshuffle the hedge funds in my archives back with Jackson Howard, which I did not do. That's a very huge mistake. Yep. I will definitely pay for this later. I was not thinking straight here. I definitely should have shuffled hedge funds back to reduce the porousness of R&D and to give me more money. At this point, I need quick burst of cash, which means hedge funds into hedge funds. Now, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be able to get through this server simply because he just used Levi AR Lab access. If you notice, he did use Levi, which means that he does not have access to Deus Ex or David. If they're in his hand, good for him. Otherwise, he's not getting through. So, I am content to leave the remote server as it is, and even if he does find them, he has to win the Caprice side game. So, I'm feeling pretty confident. Instead, I'm going to take my time to ice up my other servers and to get the last Jackson Howard out of the way, because I really need to cycle those hedge funds back. I need the money. If I don't have anything, if I have less than 6 credits, he can get through R&D and it'll be game over. I also throw an Excalibur onto archives in case he attempts to get to my remote servers through archives. No easy way out for him. If he runs into archives, he will no longer be able to run for the rest of his turn. Alright, so at this point, I really wish I had sacked the Jackson for the hedge funds because that's what I need. I don't need another future perfect in my hand. What I need is money. What do I do here? Now I shuffle back the 3 hedge funds. There are 3 of them in my archives. They are all going back into R&D. Prolong the game a little more and gain credits the hard way. Remember, I need credits to res both the R&D and HQ ice, as well as score my agenda. So money is of the essence. In the meantime, he test runs and finds himself a Femme Fatale. Oh my gosh, as if his deck doesn't counter mine hard enough. A rig of David, Artman, Cerberus Lady is good enough to stop me, but Femme just is the nail in the coffin, basically. And I knew where it would go. He put it on R&D, which is the best choice. There was no point in me raising the Merlin, pumping its strength, because at the end of the day, he'll still get in. 3 to bypass. So, yes, this is really awful for me. The only solace is that he did not access any agendas. He is, however, going to be able to imp one card, which is really painful because it's the economy card that I need. I do find myself the hedge fund, so this really is the time to strike because he's going to get his Femme Fatale back in short order. So at this point, I score the future perfect. So now I'm up to 5 points. He has 6 points. And the only good news is that there are very few agendas left in my deck. Unfortunately, my deck is also pretty small, so he'll eventually find it. Now he attempts to run R&D with Fem installed the hard way. I'm going to rest the Merlin here because he's down to 6 credits. It'll cost him 3 to bypass all my ice. Now I cannot end the run, and I will not end the run, but hopefully I can tax him such that he cannot run that often, which is pretty important because he has Imp, which means he can easily chew through my deck. And here's the bad news. He finds the NAPD. The only good news again is he does not have enough money to steal it, so it's going archives thanks to Imp. He nearly won the game there, but well, now the game is really just one run away at this point because the next turn he's going to be able to run archives and score the NAPD after clicking Magnum Opus a couple of times, and I do not have any hard end runs in my deck, in my hand for the matter. So I'm screwed. I'm pretty screwed. I can't do anything about this. Now, I'm down to 3 credits. What can I do? I just rest the Merlin. I don't have enough money to res any of the ice should I install them on archives. So my only option here was to play the hedge fund after clicking for credit twice. Hoping he doesn't run my archives. We'll see about that. First he goes on R&D and I show him the 2 Grail Ice again. He accesses 2 cards and sees nothing. He cannot imp anything because he ran out of imp tokens. If he runs archives now, he wins the game. If he runs archives now, he wins the game. He does not run archives. Thank goodness. I get one more turn to save myself. I draw into a Himitsu Bako. This can stop him. I have enough IT department tokens to to prevent him from paying through with Sabira's Lady. So I place it on archives, trashing the Excalibur. And I pump up IT department in the hopes that he will not have enough money to deal with the Bako. Now, passing turn over to him, he does have an R&D lock on me, and I count up my cards. All the agendas are accounted for. 3 future perfects, 3 NAPDs, 2 in his score pile, 1 in archives, the Philotic, and 1 more House of Knives. The 1 more House of Knives is lying in my deck. My deck is down to 3 cards, 1 of which he has already seen, which I'm about to mandatorily draw. So, at this point, yes, I'm just quite lucky so far that he has not accessed the final House of Knives from my deck. There's only 1 more agenda in there that he can steal, and that's that. So I needed to place the pressure. I have to win the next turn, and I'm going to do so by scoring a future perfect, daring him to run into that server. If he has a Deus Ex or David in his hand, now is the time to play it. Hopefully I can distract him to run those servers instead of running R&D. Because if he runs R&D at this point, he wins the game. He accesses both of the cards remaining R&D, one of which is a House of Knives. If he runs Archives, he probably cannot do anything about it. The Bako will stop him cold thanks to IT department. So it all comes down to this. 1 final turn from his part. First click draw, second click money. Is he going to challenge my remote? If he wants to, he has to act now. Money. Where is he going to run for his last click? Archives or R&D? Or HQ? R&D. He picked the right server. I was hoping that he would think that there would be agendas in HQ, so he would have to run HQ. But he picked the right server in R&D. He's going to see 2 fresh cards, one of which is the agenda he's looking for. And unfortunately, this comes down to a problem with my deck, which is that it's way too slow. I took way too long to set up the IT department. I was forced to spend lots of IT department counters time and again to prevent him from running through my ice, and because of that, and I spent a lot of time gaining money as well, which didn't help. He trashed the Sundews in quick order, so I needed to recover from my credit losses, and because of that, I ended up nearly decking myself. And with the extra time that I gave him to set up, he managed to pull off the well-deserved victory. So yes, that is a hard counter for you. Fam completely bypasses IT department. David does not care less about how many times you use IT department. They both chew up anything that I attempt to pump. Sharpshooter and Deus Ex are very efficient means of dealing with Grail Ice. They are huge counters, so I always had to bring IT department up to excessive power counter numbers just to deal with those two one-time breakers, which meant that I was not spending time scoring agendas, which was to my detriment in the end. Also, he had Parasite, which is a very good counter against Grail Ice as well. After face checking them, you are just one Parasite away from destroying them. So basically, he had all the tools he needed to counter my deck, and he did it very well. I was thoroughly and utterly defeated. Thanks for watching and happy net running. Goodbye.